Hi guys, welcome back to our channel where we cover everything about medical school in English in Italy. Today we're continuing our campus tour series with University of Turin, finally. I went to Turin a few weeks ago for Eurovision and I traveled back there again a few days ago. So I've actually got to experience it twice now, and hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit more of a not like in-depth view, but at first I was afraid with Eurovision it was going to be a little bit biased because obviously the city was going to be a lot different, but now I guess it can be a little bit more balanced. So as always, we're going to start with the university, which is actually located in a different campus than the main one, and we'll move on to the city portion. And as I always say, the city part is the most important part of the tour because you really need to optimize for quality of life, which is going to come more than how you vibe with the city compared to the university. Let's start off with the most important factor, which is the location of the campus. So the English course, the Turin IMS, is actually located in a different campus compared to the main one, and I do think it's quite a bit far away. So when I was actually going to visit with my friend, we took the tram and the bus, and we got pretty lucky that we didn't have to wait for the bus that long. But my friend did say that during the winter, especially when more people are using it and it's raining, etc., at rush hour, that it's almost impossible to get a space on the bus. Like, people are apparently like literally pushing on, and there might not be another bus for a full hour. So these are things that you need to keep in mind. That, of course, like when I went, it was during holidays, so there was no rush hour. I was there for Eurovision, so clearly no one was heading to the university and things like that, and it was during the day and absolutely no one was using it. So we got pretty lucky. I think in total it took us about 30 minutes to get there from like the tram, the wait, and then the bus on top of it. You can, of course, also live near the university, but then I feel like you're going to be far from the city center, which is where all the action and fun is, and it's not something that I recommend for the full 6 years that you're going to be there. Work-life balance is incredibly important. Overall, personally, I didn't think the travel there was too bad, but multiple of the students that I talked to who go there told me that I can't consider the travel based on what I experienced, because apparently we got really extremely lucky on the way there and back. So there's like different areas in the city that you can live along, but there's only one bus connecting. So we took a tram, which also serves the city center. From the city center, the major point to that tram stop is this many minutes, and then depending on how much you might need to wait for the bus on top of that in no traffic took this many minutes. Thankfully I recorded it. So I'm not sure if you would consider this too far. You need to keep in mind, like when you're traveling in winter, when it's raining, when you're super tired, if your classes are starting at 8 a.m. These are small things that you have to consider because they're going to stack up over 6 years. If there's a bus strike, I don't know if Turin has many bus strikes, but here in Rome there's like a bus strike at least once a month. So these are little contingencies that you have to plan around when you consider that you're going to be living quite a bit away from the campus. So once we arrived, we sat at this little cafe and we had a cornetto and cafe. It was, I would say, reasonably priced. I think for a university, for a hospital, it was a bit more than usual, but definitely not too bad. This was looking at the entrance of the hospital. The hospital itself, I mean, there's nothing really I can say about it. It's quite big. It seems like very basically laid out. There is nothing especially good or especially bad. It just seems like a basic hospital. You walk in, there's the entrance, and you go through to get to where the IMS course is held. They also have a little like cafe mensa thing where you can get breakfast or lunch, and there is apparently a bigger one than the one that we went to, but it's quite a bit far away. So 90% of the time you either use the vending machines or you use this cafe, or obviously you bring in your own lunch. And there's these like nice little picnic tables kind of places outside where you can eat lunch with your friends or study with them or just hang out. It was actually really nice. So the one really shocking part that I feel like I have to mention is that there are asbestos warnings all over the hospital. Like, all of the windows have these little signs saying like, don't come near here, don't sit here, like asbestos warning. And I found this really strange. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, when I was talking to my other friend who also goes to Turin, who also does YouTube content, I'll link her channel in the description below, she said that north of Italy in general, especially because it's more industrialized, has a general problem with asbestos, but it's not a dangerous thing, it's just something that's always there. And now, I'm not sure about the cause of it, but I am inclined to believe that it's not unsafe, because whatever about forcing students to study there and go to classes there, I'm certain that professors and doctors and, you know, other professional people who work in the hospital, if they thought that it was a danger, or if it was actually a danger, I don't think any of them would be there. So it is something that I kind of wanted to mention. I'm not sure how big of a deal it is. I think it's really strange, but maybe like the warning is only there as a safety thing. Like maybe in other hospitals they have asbestos problems, but they don't even like post signs, or I don't know. I just thought it was strange. I thought I would mention it just in case. I don't really think it's something to be concerned about, because I think if it was concerning, they wouldn't put students and staff there. But yeah, I don't know. Do with this information what you want. So the IMS course is through these doors, and it's all located in one like circular hallway. So each classroom in this circular hallway is one of the years 1 through 6. Above the doors there are like screens that have information perhaps about the MD PhD program, about the class schedules, about which year is in like which of the classrooms, which I thought was quite nice. I think this is classically the part that we always see when we look up Turin IMS. A lot of people think that Turin's course is in this really fancy modern building, but this is actually student accommodation, not even related to IMS. So like this has absolutely nothing to do with what you would be experiencing if you went to Turin's English program. The classrooms I thought were quite nice. Obviously I only saw one of them, but there were like a ton of coat racks where you can put your things, which is always handy. The classes seemed quite big and spacious, definitely accommodating enough for however many students were there. Obviously with COVID, I don't know how many people were there and what capacity of the classroom was being filled. Again, based on the one classroom I saw, I thought they were bright. There was like a really nice projector. There was a computer. I mean, there was Wi-Fi. Overall, like the classrooms were quite nice and spacious. So the upstairs part of this like circular place, there are like lots of random tables where people can sit and study and work together, as well as there being some labs. Now we got very lucky that someone left the door open, so I was able to just about sneak peek a little bit of the lab. But overall, the entire course is contained into just this one circular area, with all the classrooms being at the bottom, with the study areas being at the top, as well as the lab. And obviously when you do practicals, then you're going to be in that hospital that we were in. So overall, my impressions is, I mean, it's fine. It's okay. Like it's a bit far. It's not falling apart other than the asbestos, obviously. But yeah, overall seems okay. I kind of like that everything is contained. I mean, Sapienza's campus and course is so big that like, I don't know, it's just a mess to get around sometimes. So it was really different seeing it all contained into one area. And yeah, now the most important part, which is the city vibe. The first time I went, I was there for Eurovision, and I thought this was going to drastically impact the like fullness of the city. Like I thought it was going to be absolutely jam-packed. And what is absolutely mind-blowing is that despite the fact that there was this worldwide competition being held there, it at no stage felt busier than Rome is during tourist season. And that is absolutely mind-blowing to me to say. Like obviously, of course, when we went to line up to get into the Eurovision village and stuff, obviously there was like a ton of people, but the rest of the city at no stage during those few days felt crowded. Like I was actually really shocked at how empty it felt. Even the tram, which by the way, I really like the tram. And another thing that I really love is that Google Maps actually shows you the live locations of the tram as it's moving through the city. That's amazing. I love that. But yeah, it never at any stage felt crowded or packed, which is really interesting to me. I have to say that I had a really great time. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I was there like with friends, and there was Eurovision, so there was a huge event, so there was a lot of international people. So I talked to a lot of people. I had a lot of fun. It seems like a really like fun city. The second time we went, obviously there was no big event. We didn't really go out either, but you know, the vibe was still nice. I quite liked the vibe. It was very calm. So one thing I have to mention, well, two things very importantly. One, I felt like it was slightly more expensive than Rome. I guess for the north of Italy, it was fine. It's not crazy expensive like Milan. I felt that it was a little bit more expensive than Rome. So I think that's a little bit of an important consideration. I'm not saying like things were like incredibly expensive, but I definitely didn't feel like it was cheap. And the other thing that I have to mention, which is very, very shocking to me, Turin has the dirtiest air in all of Italy. Like it has the highest level of pollution. There's always a smog. The weather is not always great like throughout the year. I was lucky when I was there that it wasn't like too hot, but it was actually sunny, which is nice. I was not expecting Turin to have the worst air quality in all of Italy, if that's something that's important to you. Something to note about the language, I felt that a lot of people spoke English to an annoying degree because I wanted to go and flex about my Italian and be able to order in the restaurant, and the second I started speaking Italian, they would just cut me off and start speaking English to me. You know, this is kind of nice, I guess, when you first move there and you have a limited level of Italian. The one thing about their Italian, they speak a weird Italian, and by that I just mean that because of the dialect and accent, I was actually quite struggling. Even for very basic things that I'm very competent about, I was struggling very much to be able to tell apart the words. So I think if you can probably learn to speak Italian there, I'm sure your Italian would be great anywhere else. Some interesting notes that I have about the city. This also includes from my second visit. The city is designed so nicely. Like very uniquely, it's based on a grid, like a square pattern, which I haven't seen in any other cities in Rome. So the layout of the city is quite nice. You know, like the roads feel big and spacious. The buildings aren't too tall. It's so clean. Like I really, really, really liked the design of the city. It felt like you can breathe in all of the pollution that's there, but like it really felt like a breath of fresh air, air dirt aside, compared to Rome. You know, like in Rome, things are like chaotic, it's crowded, but I just felt like all of the streets were, you know, they were like wide, they were fine to walk on. The city is incredibly flat, you can cycle everywhere, it was incredibly clean. You know, that you didn't have all of these like holes in the buildings and in the ground, and you know, there was barely any graffiti, there was like no litter. Overall, I have to say the city's design is so nice. It's very like open plan, it's never crowded, it's very calm, and it's overall very clean. Another thing with the cycling, like the drivers are so civilized, it's crazy. I didn't think I was in Italy anymore. People were stopping, they were indicating, they were letting people pass by, even when it wasn't a pedestrian crossing. I don't know, overall I was very impressed with the calm vibes of the city. Even more shockingly with how empty the city is, like not in a bad way, but it just felt like, yeah, I don't know, it just felt kind of empty, but not in a dead way, but you know, in a bit too calm way. Now, for my overall vibe of the city, I have to say I really liked it, right? It was such a nice break from the chaos of Rome, but I don't know if personally I would move there now. I can definitely see myself one day settling in Turin. You know, like maybe after a few decades in my career where like, you know, the chaos has got too much and I'm ready to not retire, but to like settle down, have a calm city life, get on the tram, you know, travel to the university, just so tranquil and peaceful. And you know, the first time around, the park is where the Eurovision village was. So obviously we didn't really see like a true thing of the park, but the second time around we went to the park and it's like by the river, and you know, you can sit there and you can study and have a drink, and it was so nice, and it's just such a like tranquil getaway. I don't know if as a student, especially because I think that a little bit of chaos and uncertainty builds character, and I don't regret my choice. But I don't know if I would say that Turin is for me now. Of course, like there's a lot of students who are also like, why would I torture myself with the chaos of Rome? I totally respect that. And I have to say, like, Turin was really nice. I really didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I really did love it. I don't know, ask your questions below, and hopefully we'll be finishing up this campus tour series in the next year. I know it takes very long, but these are very expensive to do, and I'm a broke student, so eventually hopefully we'll get you the campus tours.